Yo, what's going on guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk you through the Rescue-ACE strategy, some commentary over some duels we had, as well as a showcase of what the deck is capable of. Of course, if you haven't seen the deck profile, make sure to watch that after this video. Granted, of course, super popular deck, really strong. But in this replay, I want to show you how we deal with it. But we're going to start with a nice pot of prosperity here. We did see the Gizmek, but we went straight for the Hydrant instead. Luckily, we start with the Fenrir, which loses to Branded Loss. But that's fine because we have a lot of other stuff. One thing I want to highlight here is pretty unfortunate that alert, mentions the graveyard. So our Rota loses not to Ash. I guess it can lose to Ash, but it also loses to Gospel. So that's very awkward and unfortunate. So let's continue the replay. We are going to search the Fire Engine here, because we're telegraphing a Turbulence into a Fire Engine play. We might have enough monsters on board for an Appaloosa. I don't know if we're actually going to summon it. Of course, Contain, stopping that Lubellion, stopping that Albion from summoning altogether. However, our opponent, you can see his hand, he has Branded Loss. So let's see exactly how we win this game. It does look a bit difficult. I think we can pull this through. Okay, yeah, we start with the rescue. We want the Hydrant on board to make sure the Contain is, super effective. Luckily, we have the Appaloosa thanks to the spam ability of Rescue-ACE, and they were able to win the game here because Contain, Alert, everything. It's just too much for the opponent to deal with. The opponent's end phase, activate Reinforce, banish it, set the, I believe this, I get the names mixed up. We get the rescue, we top deck a Swordsoul. That just spells game, guys, because we're able to get the Regulus now and win the game. So we activate the headquarters, shuffling all the cards that we want to shuffle. Our Turbulence, if we summon it, if we want to summon it. Gizmek, yeah, we're adding the Fire Engine. We banished off the small world previously. Press on the Fire Engine, guys, that's game. I think this deck is going to be heavily underrated and people just won't expect this kind of craziness to happen. Swordsoul is still a really strong deck. We can see the blackout in the opponent's hand, but also the evenly matched. But we have a D-Barrier to counter the evenly matched. So we do have the Hydrant. So we're just doing some standard combos here. He does imperm the Turbulence, which, is the one card you don't want imperm. I wish you had protection on it, but it doesn't. But that's fine. We do get the draw one and shuffle. So we do have the spells and traps back in the grave again, back in the deck again. And then we end on a simple Appaloosa. This was a best of 3, so this must have been pulse-siding. I chose Synchro. Emergence for the Tire is actually pretty scary, but he can't activate his effect, but he doesn't choose to. And okay, we also don't, draw that well. But I think we were just playing around the blackout, to be honest. And I did read him correctly. That is a blackout face down. So now we can pop off. And like I mentioned, guys, in a control deck, in a deck like Rescue-ACE, the OTK doesn't mean taking them out one turn. It means setting up and then same amount of disruption. And we top did the Judgment, I believe, as well. So I'm sorry, a second evening match will not win you the game. He did not have a third one. He doesn't know an emergence play, but guys, Extinguish is too strong. We don't have the Hydra on board, but popping it meant he could not activate his effect, and he obviously couldn't bring it back, and that was the game against Swordsoul. I'd say Rescue-ACE has a much better matchup against Swordsoul than maybe something like Branded or Sprite, because the Extinguish does a lot of damage here. Of course, you can get rid of monsters, so they can't even synchro. Most importantly, the Contain trapping monsters on the field, so they can't even use it as material for a monk or, a synchro. Next up is replay against Labrynth. So Labrynth is going to be one of the most strongest decks seen in the OCG. It's essentially a tier 1 deck now. Got a lot of representation for a good reason. We had a very tough hand. Because of that, we have to use our whole hand just to set up this board. But hopefully this is enough to win the game. We do have a Rescue-ACE on the board, so our spells and traps are live. But the opponent sets 5 and passed out with the Prosperity. Amazing top deck. And he only clashes with the field spell and when it comes to drawing, so that's completely fine. But what did we get off the top? We get a Hydrant, of course. I don't believe we didn't see it during our first turn, so we're going to do it now. We have the Contain. I feel like I should have summoned the Hydrant, then did the Contain. But I wanted to chain to negate that card, which popped something. So because we have Hydrant, Alert is now a Rota, which is absolutely insane. We start with the Extinguish now. He's chaining a card, but because he chained the card, we can summon the Fire Engine from the Hoister. Search the field spell. We don't have the draw effect because we use Prosperity, but the attack boost is actually really nice. And I wonder what we're going to do next. We have a 5k Turbulence. Let's see. Well, yeah, because of Prosperity, bad damage is half. I was getting a bit excited there. But that's fine. We do have the Cerberus into access code. So one thing you can do against control deck in the main phase 2 is once they've stopped activating stuff, just roll them up with the access code tool card and go for game that way, because you're just taking out the advantage. And as mentioned before as well, Alert is so good at snowballing because Impulse is the best one to search if you don't have another Rescue summon lined up. But now we can do another Alert on the opponent's turn. Search the Fire Attacker. Potentially get some draw cards going. The opponent does not do anything. That's basically game right there. If you see something scary, just summon Underworld and use it as material. That's the best thing you can do. That's why it's one of my favorite cards in the game. And yeah, the advantage is too much and we just win the game here. So there we go, guys. We're watching a Sky Striker replay versus, of course, Rescue-ACE. So we're going first, and the opponent has quite an insane hand, to be honest, but that's fine because we have the Pot of Prosperity to dig for the Small World, which if you've seen the deck profile, definitely go check that out. Small World is absolutely insane. In Rescue-ACE, we get the Gizmek, and the Gizmek does his effect. We can then do his Grave effect to add a banished face down machine from the face down banish pile to the hand, and that's how we get our turbulence, guys. Nothing no deck is capable of doing except Rescue-ACE right now. And there we go, we just combo up like crazy. Of course, ending on the Appaloosa end board, have the contain, we have the rescue, the reinforce, the alert, and we have the extinguish. So honestly, quite an insane board. We don't have a Soul of Judgment to, you know, stop something like a lightning storm. So I don't know what I'm going to do here. I don't know what the opponent is going to do. So here we go. The opponent does a shark cannon. Super unfortunate, but that's fine. We can still add the hydrant to hand. So when it comes back to our turn, we can play the game. Striker is not known to OTK as easily. And then yeah, there we go. He does remove the whole board. I make a huge misplay and misclick and actually trigger the turbulence effect, but then he does a Widow Anchor anyway, and then does a Raigeki. Of course, the Appaloosa comes from our card effect. Opponent makes a huge misplay here, forgets to have athlete protection, I guess. You know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players not reading, that's, you know, that's the tagline of every of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community. But he does a Kagari play, and yeah, because he's already done his battle phase, I can negate the Appaloosa. Why Appaloosa is so good in this deck is you spam a lot of monsters on board. So hopefully I'm able to demonstrate, you know, what Rescue can do and then what it can set up in terms of boss monsters, because the Appaloosa is just so insane. And then the new card, which we won't get on release. I underestimated this card at first for a long time. Then the more I played with it, the more I realized this card is actually really good, because in most cases you can set the field spell. So it means you can now potentially run just one field spell. Before we do anything, let's shuffle 4 of the Rescue spell traps into the hand. And now we search the turbulence, I believe. And we do a nice Agnimazad play here, getting rid of the Ray. And then there we go, there's our set force. One thing I like about Rescue-ACE and playing a control deck like this, your OTK is sometimes just through setting up a very heavy disruption board. So you don't even have to go for the actual OTK. This should be enough. We're gonna watch this replay here, of course, starting with Prosperity, one of the best cards in the deck, because you can dig for anything you need. And then in a deck like this, where you really need the Hydrant or the Turbulence, because we summoned a Rescue-ACE, Fire Engine goes off. Now we can search the Turbulence. We have enough Rescue-ACE cards in grave, so now we can summon the Turbulence and set 4. And then probably just set the reinforce and pass turn. I could have done an Appaloosa play here, but I didn't want to risk it. So I did a good Ash on the new Gishki Monster Gishki Grimm's card. It's crazy. And then yeah, we do a nice extinguish play here. So our Fire Engine, which still gets negated. Then the opponent surrenders because he does not have enough Sprite cards in hand. I feel like he misplayed. If the Fire Engine went off, we summon the Hydra. And then because of the Contain card, you can lock down an opponent's monster. If you're playing as a deck like Sprite, for example, if you lock a level 2 on the field, they can't use as material, so they're really screwed. As soon as we had the Hydra in the field, it was going to be game, because the alert would have searched the Fire Attacker to our hand to summon more monsters and draw more cards, and the Rescue could have stolen a monster from his grave, stopping the Sprite Elf. There's a lot of disruption that the Rescue-ACE board can make. So for the final replay, I want to show a match against Sprite Gishki, where we've actually lost against them, just to showcase what happens when you go second. Yes, we have cards like Impulse and the Air Hoister, as well as the Fire Engine and the Fire Attacker to play on the opponent's turn when we're going second, but sometimes you just don't see those cards, and it's why you always want to try and run a pure variant as much as possible. That said, the opponent is doing some crazy stuff with the Gust Kraken. I believe this card used to be an FTK. With the new Gishki card, you can now do the similar hand loop. Opponent is having a good time right now. We've done our Ash Blossom. We're going to end on a nice board here. And okay, he doesn't end on the new level 10 Ritual Monster, which is a good thing for me. We're able to do a small world now and go into whatever card we're missing. So yeah, I had a feeling we'll be getting rid of the Ash Blossom here. And Fenrir is great because it's going to force a lot of, I guess, disruption from the opponent, because, you know, they're scared of it. We know he searched the Smashers, and he does in fact do the red to negate the Fenrir. Obviously for him, he doesn't send a Link monster to grave, so the Fenrir doesn't get destroyed as well as negated. So we're able to search the Rescue as well. And I believe from here, we're just trying to pull through. But because, again, we don't see the cards we need, and that's why cards like Prosperity are really good. He gets too much advantage. And the new Gishki Ritual spell is so crazy, because you just saw what it did. It's a soul exchange for Gishkis. And now from here, we just lose because the opponent is gaining so much advantage. A lot of these Gishki monsters are no once per turn. Special Sprite monster win the game. So that's an example of a scenario where you can lose. If you go second, you know, like many control decks, if you go second, more of a die roll because you're not able to set up. But hopefully that's a showcase of how consistent the deck can be. That's been the video, guys. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so the YouTube algorithm sees us. Try to get to 1,000 subscribers. Would you like to see any more content from the Rescue-ACE deck? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.